That's great for Devontae Parker, terrible for DeAndre Hopkins. The thing is, he's too classy of a guy to go out and call out his quarterback. So, Nuke, if you will allow me to be your advocate, let me say this to Deshaun Watson, who I know is watching this on the all-new NFL Fantasy app before his huge game against the Colts. And here's the thing. Why are you not throwing the ball to one of the best players on the planet? Quit trying to make Kenny Stills a thing. All right, Darren Fells didn't even play college football. He went to stupid UCI, didn't have the decency to go to his hometown, Cal State Fullerton. That's not the point. The point is, throw the ball to DeAndre Hopkins. Get it done and hype them. Let's start the show. Big welcome to NFL Fantasy League One. That is Marcus Grant. That's Taylor Bashadi, and of course, Graham Barfield, and you've met me, Adam Rank, your host and commissioner, and the only person qualified to lead this rogues gallery of fantasy superstars. And don't you shake your head.
I'm a little scared after that.
You don't see? You should be. Well, listen,
take out your anger.
It's a warning to everybody who has gotten into my crosshairs. But let's talk about a couple of big names who are going to be returning this week, coming back from injuries, of course, most notably Saquon Barkley, Todd Gurley. Any hesitation to start either one of those guys?
Nope. Saquon's going to be fine because he's Saquon, right? He's going to get the ball a ton. They're playing the Cardinals. Todd Gurley, I know he hasn't been the same guy, but they're playing the Falcons. I don't know if you've heard this. Falcons defense, it's ungood.
Start all your guys against the Falcons.
Yeah, pretty much.
I agree. I guess the only hesitation that I would have in starting Gurley is, are they going to try and utilize him, or will they try and keep him healthy and save his knee a little bit?
Pitch count.
It'll be really interesting to see what they do with Darrell Henderson in this game, right? Like, as Malcolm Brown is out with an ankle injury, and basically it's just Henderson as their number 2 back today.
Yeah,
and I don't think they're going to need that much help because it is the Falcons defense, which is giving up 388 yards on average of total offense each game.
That's not good.
And speaking of injuries, though, in Los Angeles, how is it possible that Jalen Ramsey's had a bad back for like 30 weeks and all of a sudden, my back, it's ready.
He left it in
He's looking like Shawn Michaels kick flipping up.
Nothing heals a bad back like a transcontinental flight from Florida to Los Angeles.
Deshaun Watson couldn't even get in a bus last year to go to, or had to get in a bus to go to Jacksonville. Here's Jalen Ramsey. But anyways, we're way off the point. What about Alvin Kamara is not going to be playing this week against the Chicago Bears? Are we comfortable with Latavius Murray?
I think you have to be just as an RB2 play. The volume will be there in this offense, right? The Saints this week are basically going to be rolling out DeAndre Washington and Zach Zinner as their backup running backs, and Latavius Murray should handle the bulk of the carries. But Adam, we know this Bears front seven is extremely tough to run on. They've been very good at stopping opposing running backs outside of one game with Josh Jacobs last week, or 2 weeks ago in London. But yeah, I think the volume is what makes Murray the attractive player.
I sneakily sort of like Latavius Murray this week.
Don't.
Well, no, I mean, I'm just wondering whether or not the Raiders maybe found something, right? I mean, you just kind of dig into next gen stats a little bit, right? And to PFF, some of their numbers. Teams kind of running outside zone tend to have a little bit more success, and I'm wondering whether or not Sean Payton sort of digs into that bag of tricks with Latavius Murray, and maybe they sort of run it right at Khalil Mack, right? Try to take him out of the action.
Yeah, try that.
I sneakily, I mean, that's basically what the Raiders did.
No, but I read your article, and I couldn't agree more with everything that you were saying in it, by the way. Marcus writes an amazing article every week.
Tired Wired, check it out.
But he did make a very good point in that if there is a coach that is going to be able to see this weakness and see this vulnerability, it's Sean Payton. And so I think that he will be crafty with his play calling and designing plays that will set Latavius Murray up to succeed.
That's a great idea. They tried that with Dalvin Cook. Didn't work. Anyways, here's my thing. So Latavius Murray is a good insurance policy. And by the way, Geico Insurance is the official sponsor of the show. We want to thank them for doing that here at Fantasy League One as we take a look at the standings. Candace Patton, Adam Rank, your leaders in the clubhouse right now, both at 5-1. FaZe Clan, Team AEW's got a really nice team coming along. Here are some of the matchups. I'm taking on Desi Banks. The Oracle going up against Hollywood Inc. Charles Melton against our own Taylor. FaZe Clan against the Fantasy Footballers. Go FaZe Clan, although I don't think they're going to win.
I don't want to be an assuming.
Graham, you've got Team AEW, and of course MG going up against Kane Brown. And by the way, if you missed it earlier this week, any expert, excluding myself, who does not beat their celebrity this week is going to be wearing a sumo suit.
No.
I love,
So
how,
hopefully,
you, love how you exclude yourself.
First of all,
from
I'm
that.
in first place, so I don't need to answer to anybody,
Adam
especially not
doesn't
you.
have any rules that he has to abide
I'm
by.
the only one who goes full send Sunday and wears a suit and tie because I have the deference and respect of this office. So, one thing I do want to talk about, though. Listen, pipe down. Here's what I'm talking about. So, we cannot lose to the celebrities this week. So, let's talk about our celebrity crushers. And leading us off is going to be Marcus Grant. Who is your celebrity crusher this week?
It's Evan Ingram, who's back after missing some time with an injury. He's on the road, or he's not. He's at home against the Arizona Cardinals, who, pro tip: the Cardinals
Only the
not
LA
good.
teams play home road games.
Not exactly. Not good against tight ends. So I expect Evan Ingram to kind of get back on track after sitting out with an injury. So the good news, not good news, I guess unfortunate good fortune for me. Kane had Patrick Mahomes, who it really does suck that Patrick Mahomes got hurt because it's just fun to watch.
Yeah.
But in terms of fantasy, that helps.
As
It
a
helps
human
lot.
being who enjoys football, regardless of fantasy football,
That
you do
sucks,
not
yes.
want to see it, and you don't want to see one of the best players on the planet just sitting there on the ground going like, yeah, this isn't good.
Yeah.
The good
So-
news is, though, is that it was a lot less.
If there is,
Disastrous
yeah,
than it
it
could
could have
be.
been, a lot worse.
There
Yeah.
was no ligament damage.
Yeah, he
which-
could have torn a few ligaments in that knee, which would have
and
probably
there was
caused him to miss the
absolutely
year.
none.
Yeah.
So there is a possibility that he could be back after 3 to 4
The silver lining there,
silver
of course.
lining.
And you know what? Speaking of silver linings, Graham Barfield's actually won a couple of games in a row. And
We didn't
our
think it was
own-
possible, but we
A
got
lot
it
of people
done.
didn't. But Taylor B actually made a suggestion on the show, and because we have some of the greatest graphic designers in the business, check out what they did. Look at the B team rolling along.
2 in a row, baby. I've scored more points every single week. Like my points have consist
Can
every
we get
single
like
week.
a
It's
graphic
just
for Graham
just a
saying
graphic
you know
of
what's
two
mine.
great?
My
games in a
points going
streak he's
straight
gonna
up.
win out?
Yeah.
Wow, and here
Our
I thought people
graphic
tuned me out.
designers. Yeah,
They were listening.
Yeah, can
I'm
you believe
flattered.
it?
My mind's blown.
At least somebody is listening. And let's talk about your game, though. You're going up against Team AEW, who is pretty good. They got a pretty nice roster. But who is your celebrity crusher this week?
They do have a good roster, but unfortunately they're going to be without Alvin Kamara, so that helps my chances this week. But my crusher this week will be Tevin Coleman. I'm finally getting him back after he missed a few games with a bum ankle, and he's been fantastic in this offense since he came back. He leads this team and not only touches and snaps, but the big key here for Coleman is he is getting the majority of the 49ers red zone looks. Over the past 2 weeks, the Niners have run 13 plays inside of the 10-yard line, and Coleman's been on the field on 12 of them. That is huge for his ceiling, and especially in a game here against this Redskins team that's given up the 10th most yards per game. I think Coleman should smash.
And most importantly, Kyle Shanahan, revenge game. I love it. Taylor, who is your celebrity crusher this week?
So we all know that I have struggled at the tight end position this year
Absolutely.
after losing Hunter Henry, and then I dropped him.
You
Obviously,
dropped Hunter
major
Henry. I
mistake.
still can't believe you did
except,
that.
You know what? I don't need any
Does
comments
not
with the
make
peanut gallery.
sense.
So I picked up Gerald Everett, and he's different from week to week, but when he's going up against an Atlanta defense, it's allowing 388 yards of total offense per game. His ceiling is very high. He's received 24 targets over the past 3 games. I expect Jared Goff to utilize him a lot and kind of expose the Falcons' weakness to defending tight ends because they've given up the 6th most points to fantasy tight ends this year.
Hunter Henry is my tight end, too, this week. I don't know if that would have been helpful for you or not. But, hey, good luck to Gerald Everett. Let's talk about my celebrity crusher as I'm going up against that one guy. Oh, yeah, Desi Banks. I had to look. I'm like, Desi, I'm so sorry. I forgot who I was playing because you're so insecure. No, anyways, that's me. That's me. But I'm going to go up.
Whoa.
Listen.
Desi, we love you.
This
I
is
don't
what
know- I don't
happens
know
when
what
you give
he's
me the
talking
cold
about.
open. I already start in a mode that I can't get myself out of as the heel commissioner. So here's my thing, though, is I got Calvin Ridley, and I have a couple of guys who are on a bye this week or either injured. Of course, most notably, Mike Evans is on a bye. Hollywood Brown is injured, and DJ Moore is also on a bye as well. So I really need Calvin Ridley to step up in this game. And it's tough because the Rams defense you can throw on them. They did make the move for Jalen Ramsey and his miracle healing back. They addressed the problem that they created themselves by trading away Marcus Peters. It's like, oh, you should be the president with the way you did that. But here's my thing, is I think that the Falcons are going to go out there and they're going to throw a lot this week. Hopefully Jalen Ramsey's on Julio, and that'll allow Calvin Ridley to run free.
You know, it's going to be doubly bad when you beat Desi Banks with a player on his favorite team.
I hope that's the case.
Desi's
really
got like
do.
4 Atlanta Falcons there, doesn't he? He's got like Freeman and Hooper, I think.
Yeah.
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 I'm just waiting for Calvin Ridley to absolutely destroy Troy Hill.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
that's the matchup. Yeah, that's the one
absolutely.
that I'm absolutely. I saw some kid on Instagram was like, "Hey, bench Calvin Ridley." I'm like, "You can't do that." But let's talk about some notable players on a bye that I just alluded to. Of course, Christian McCaffrey. Anybody who's going up against, I have in another league with my friends from Corona. My friend has Christian McCaffrey and Chris Godwin, and I'm like, I could not be more fortunate about facing your team this week with two of the best players in all of the league. Of course, Nick Chubb. That's one of Taylor's. One of the pillars of your team right there. Jameis Winston, I don't know how we'll survive without him. That actually just probably saved somebody's season by having him out. Of course, Juju, Curtis Samuel. OBJ is a tough one as well. All right, time now for Fantasy Insurance presented by Geico. And we're going to be talking about some of the players, like not high-level players. Like we know to start Saquon, but who are some of the perhaps RB2, wide receiver 2 guys we're going to be counting on this week. Taylor, let's start it off with you.
So I don't know if you I don't think he's a must start, but he is in my league and somebody that I actually had to start because I have Jarvis Landry, Nick Chubb, all these guys on a bye. But I went with Allen Robinson just simply because Trubisky's back. They're coming off a bye. They're well rested. And he's getting the majority of the targets for the Bears offense. So I'm expecting that he is going to have one of his better games this week, as long as Mitchell Trubisky can get him the ball. So there is a big if there.
That's a big asterisk there.
There is a big asterisk there, but I am going to go with Allen Robinson. I'm starting him as well as DJ Chark.
Graham, who you got?
Yeah, I'm looking at Michael Gallup this week. Amari Cooper is banged up with an ankle injury, and it should open up some more opportunities for Gallup on Sunday night. Cooper should play. He was back in practice on Friday in a limited practice, but this is just such an amazing spot for Michael Gallup here. With Cooper on the field, it's going to kind of take away some of the primary coverage from the Jets, and this Jets team is just getting absolutely wrecked on the outside. Per Next Gen Stats, they've given up the 6th most PPR points to opposing receivers aligned out wide, and that's where Gallup does most of his business.
Marcus?
I'm going with Matt Breida, sort of piggybacking on what Graham said about Tevin Coleman. Look, Coleman is getting the bulk of the work, but that doesn't mean Breida is, persona non grata in that offense. He's still getting plenty of opportunity, and he's a big play guy. Every time he gets his hands on the ball, there's a chance he's going to take it to the house. And against this bad Washington defense, and where it actually could be a little rainy there in D.C., so maybe the Niners, who are already run heavy, get even more run heavy this week.
I wouldn't mind seeing that. And one player I'd like to see continue to step up, I should say, Miles Sanders for the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, this was somebody that coming into this season I had high hopes for. Kind of considered him one of those late round-ish running backs that you could count on in a great offense. And we're starting to see it. He popped off the tape early in the season, but now we're starting to see it in the scoring sheets. I think that Doug Peterson is getting more comfortable playing him more and more. And this is a huge game against the Cowboys. And Peterson came out right after last week's game and said, you know what, we're not going to lose this game to the Cowboys. And I think a big reason why is they're going to be able to rely on Miles Sanders. And that was Fantasy Insurance presented by Geico. And we love to be a show of the people, so we will answer some of your questions when we have the opportunity. Graham, I will throw this to you. Who would you start, Russell Wilson versus the Ravens or Josh Allen versus the Dolphins defense?
This is a really good problem to have. I'm going with Russ Wilson, but with Josh Allen's schedule coming up, you might be able to flip him to a quarterback-needy team.
Absolutely. All right, there you go, Bobby. So thanks for weighing in. Luis asks, should you start Deshaun Watson against the Colts or Kyler Murray against the Giants? Taylor, why don't you take that one?
Deshaun Watson against the Colts. I obviously Kyler Murray has the easier matchup, but I'm still going with Deshaun Watson.
I think Deshaun Watson is
always start.
Yeah. And Marcus, what about you? Flex spot, who would you start? Scary Terry McLaurin, Montgomery, or Jamal Williams?
Well, I know I'm definitely not starting McLaurin this week against the 49ers defense. You know what? I might lean toward Jamal Williams right now because he's getting more looks, more opportunities in that offense. And, I think I would give him a shot against the Raiders.
Did I do something?
What?
Whatever. All right. Needs help. Jordan Howard or Latavius Murray, Brady or Goff. I love Goff this week.
I love it.
He's my QB2 going up against that Falcons defense that has allowed a quarterback to score at least 20 points per game over the last 4. And you know what? They've allowed the second most fantasy points to quarterbacks this season. And this is just a long way of me trying to avoid saying that I would probably go with Latavius Murray, just based on the volume alone.
By the way, did you guys see that the Rams, the hotel that they're staying in Atlanta, lost power last night?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Mysteriously
lost power.
The South is amazing. All right, coming up, Sunday Funday, quarterback starts we like, and top flex plays. But first, we happy chat. And I'm telling you, I'm saying I love the South. I love that they do stuff like
Throwing
that.
shots, love it.
Time now for 15 minutes to kickoff, presented by Geico. Here are some of the notable injuries. Saquon Barkley, Todd Gurley, David Johnson, all active. Devontae Adams will be out, as will Alvin Kamara going up against the Chicago Bears in the late window. Amari Cooper is expected to start, but as Graham said earlier in the show, that's probably good news for Michael Gallup. Have that decoy out there. And that was 15 minutes to kickoff, presented by Geico. And right now we want to do a brand new segment that will probably find itself on some other show later on because it's so good. But it's Sunday Funday, where we're going to toast to some of the big name quarterbacks who can come through for you this week, or actually some under the radar guys like Prosecco. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's fun. Like, people don't know, but it's actually pretty good. And you know what, Graham, why don't you get us kick-started here?
I will. Kyler Murray is not necessarily under the radar, but he has been fantastic so far for fantasy. He's been a floor play to start the season, but he's finally achieved and started to hit his ceiling over the past couple weeks as the Cardinals are allowing him to run more and scramble more. And of course, this matchup against the Giants is just so pristine. I think Murray is really starting to come into his own here, and he should deliver a massive ceiling game here against the Giants. And this game, guys, is going to be so much fun because both these teams can't stop the pass. They both play with extreme pace. There should be a lot of play volume here. I'm really looking forward to this game.
Pace. Get the pace. Taylor.
Josh Allen. I am going with Josh Allen. He is not an average quarterback, but he's not one of the best. He's ranked 13th. He's getting 16.5 points per game. But he's going up against the Dolphins defense. I don't know if you have to say much more than that. They are the worst in the league. They're giving up the most points to fantasy quarterbacks. This is a match made in heaven for Josh Allen. I expect him to be a top 5 quarterback this week.
Marcus?
I'm going to go with Daniel Jones. Look, while everybody else is having mimosas and they're going Kyler Murray and Gardner Minshew, you can go out there and have a hibiscus, champagne and cranberry. It's delicious. It's refreshing. It's different. And he's got Saquon Barkley back. Evan Ingram is back. They're going against that Cardinals. I know Patrick Peterson's going to be there, but he is but one man and cannot cover the whole field by himself.
You can stay away from Pat Pete.
You can stay away from Pat Pete. Danny Dimes should be on the money today.
I'm going to toast Gardner Minshew, who not only probably does like a good hibiscus or mimosa, but he also probably brings a nondescript domestic lager with him as well. And he's got both of them working. He's got a cup of coffee.
But the heavy version, not the light.
No, the heavy version, yeah. He probably got a Copenhagen in his lip. Like, he's out there doing it. And I know last week that he disappointed a lot of fantasy enthusiasts, but this is going to be the week that he gets right going up against the Cincinnati Bengals that have allowed 9 touchdown passes this season. And I think this is a great matchup for him and a great opportunity to go out and show what he's going to do. Don't step on the sponsory, because it is time now for 15 for 15 presented by Geico. And we're going to put 1:15 on the clock. I know you have something to say. You can save it. We're going to put 1:15 on the clock and debate which flex starts where we're more likely to score 15 fantasy points. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
You ready?
Yes.
Here we go. Graham, Carlos Hyde for the Colts against the Colts. Frank Gore against the Dolphins.
Oh boy, Hyde. Yeah, I think it's Hyde.
Frank Gore against the Dolphins, though?
Yeah, Devin Singletary's back.
I love Frank Gore, but I'm going to go Carlos Hyde here.
Okay,
yeah.
So we helped out nobody on that one. What about Tyler Boyd versus the Jags or Will Fuller against the Colts?
Boyd.
Don't everybody speak at once.
I'm going to go. Yeah, I say
I'm
Boyd.
scared to speak
Fuller
now.
is so boom or bust. Boyd at least has a consistency in his number of targets.
And there really aren't anybody else for Andy Dalton to go to, and so it's going to be kind of, you either go to Tyler Boyd or nobody else. So because of the volume of targets that he's going to get, I'm going to have to go with Boyd as well.
Absolutely. And these Jags corners right now, without Jalen Ramsey, they're
like
really
What is it gonna be
Their
like?
best corner
I know.
plays for the Rams now.
Yeah.
So that part.
It's so sad. I don't like the way that ended. All right, what about Latavius Murray versus the Bears or David Montgomery versus the Saints?
Well, I've already planted my flag for Latavius Murray on this show, so I'm going to stay on that side of the ledger.
Why don't you take both? Because now you can be like, oh, I told you.
I'm right. Except that they both have the same
Does anybody have any faith in David Montgomery?
I kind of like this spot. Bears are coming out of the bye. They're at home, but yeah, I think I'd still go
I go
Latavius
with
over.
Latavius.
You know what? They had to reshuffle the offensive line. I think that was part of the problem. I think going forward, oh my gosh, Stephon Diggs are out. Oh, we can't do the Lizard King. Now you got MVS and the other guy back.
Yeah.
John Allison's back
Whatever.
too.
Who cares? You know what? That was 15 for 15 presented by Geico. And now we're going to go to a break and talk about the Week 7 fantasy superheroes and supervillains, but none of that can happen until we do some happy chat. Stay right there.
By the way, Josh Allen's a man Mosa.
Welcome back to NFL Fantasy League One presented by Geico. And right now we want to talk about some of the fantasy superheroes and supervillains. We're going to do fan questions first. I beg your pardon. Let's go through those right now. Because we're a people show.
Yes.
And who should you start Lamar Jackson or Matt Ryan? Marcus, why don't you lead us off?
I think I'm going to lean with Matt Ryan in this one in a game that should be kind of attractive. We talked about that Rams secondary, so I think Matty Ice will have another big day.
Meh. Ryan, as you put it during our draft. Fantasy. Oh, wow, this was to me. Mike, let's see. You got to start one. Allen Robinson, Will Fuller, Devin Singletary, pulling your hair out. Don't do that.
Devin
Look what happened to me.
Pulling your hair out?
Look at what happened to me. I'm going to go with, you know what? I kind of like Devin Singletary in this spot going up against the Miami Dolphins. I think that anytime you get somebody that gets a lot of opportunities against that team.
He's just not choosing Allen Robinson because I have him.
That as well. And Jacob is asking, he needs to pick 2 wide receivers between Cooks, Gallup, and Tate. Who are your 2s?
Gallup.
So you're going to go Gallup, and
the tougher one is Cooks versus Tate, but I think that Falcons secondary kind of skews it back towards Cooks.
Yeah.
Cooks. And finally, Austin Eckler or Auden Tate for a flex.
It hasn't gotten that bad for Austin Eckler.
No.
Yeah, I think
this
you go
is
Eckler here.
You've gone too far, Robert.
Yeah. You're trying too hard, Rob.
Okay, Robert. I appreciate you. This is why we're here. We're going to help you out with those kind of dilemmas. You know what? I understand.
We appreciate the question.
We do appreciate it. I understand. Like we all have the
Robert.
same lineup dilemmas, and I think when you're staring at it yourself, it gets a little bit daunting. But we're here to tell you, Austin Eckler will be a fine play this week against the Tennessee Titans. But let's talk about some fantasy superheroes and supervillains who will be there for you this week. And you know what? I'm going to lead it off, and I'm going to go with Cooper Kupp, who to me, he's like one of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Maybe he's Michelangelo because he's part of a group. He's not like a solo act. He's not Batman, but he's got people around him who are helping him out, and any one of them can go out there and do their own thing, and they can be their own special player. But Cooper Kupp has scored at least 26 fantasy points in 3 out of his last 4 games. Don't be discouraged by what happened last week against the San Francisco 49ers. He's going to be good to go. Marcus, who's your guy?
I'm going with Leonard Fournette, who is sort of like Hank McCoy, a.k.a. the Beast. He's a big, strong guy, but also surprisingly nimble and agile, especially with the football in his hands. Plus, both of them have a lot of whiskers on their chin.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
Taylor, who do you got?
Rank, I'm kind of agreeing with you in a weird way because you're taking Cooper Kupp. I'm going to take Jared Goff. He's going to be like Superman this week. He has the Falcons have given up 20 points to fantasy quarterbacks over the last 4 weeks. Jared Goff's going to go up. The Falcons are giving up 388 yards of total offense. This is going to be the Rams' time to shine.
Graham?
Was that the first time Goff has ever been compared to a superhero? Like,
you know what I was thinking? That he kind of looks like the guy that's going like this. Isn't that Superman?
Huh?
You know the one that's like always the animation?
yeah.
Whatever, just go ahead.
Can you please talk about Mark Andrews?
I will. Mark Andrews is my superhero this week, and he was a late round superhero in fantasy drafts this year. Just been an absolute stud. And here against the Seahawks defense that has given up the 4th most PPR points to opposing tight ends. No Marquise Brown this week, most likely with an ankle injury. This is just a huge spot for Andrews.
Absolutely. And can you do your Superman impersonation again?
Yeah, you know, like the one that's like flying through the air that's like this?
That's
Superman.
That's Superman-ish,
Yep.
yeah.
That's what
We're
I said.
familiar.
That's what I said he was. I'm not very well versed on my superheroes,
Apparently.
so you guys are definitely winning in this category.
Well, let's talk about super villains. And Marcus, actually, why don't you kick us off here?
Okay, I'm going to say Aaron Rodgers. And he's sort of like
he's
sort of like
peaked in high
Loki.
school, man.
That dude peaked in high school. I felt a lot worse about this when it looked like all of his wide receivers had sort of been, for another supervillain, Thanos out of the atmosphere.
Right.
But they're sort of back now. But I still think, he's a guy who likes to kind of be in the mix, but sometimes he plays tricks on your fantasy team. You think something's going to happen, it doesn't. Plus, like Loki, he wears green.
Oh, there you go. Taylor, who you got?
I'm going to go with another superhero who wears green, the Incredible Hulk. And that's usually what Ezekiel Elliott is, except this week I don't think it's going to be as favorable of a matchup for him. He's going up against a tough Eagles defense that ranks 2nd in points, at least points allowed to running back. So I don't think that Zeke, he still is a starter.
So
but
you
he's
want the
not
Hulk, but you're going to get Bruce Banner instead.
Yeah, you're not.
There you go.
He still is definitely a starter. You always start Zeke, but he's not going to get as many points as people want from him.
Graham?
Following your lead with another Cowboys, Dak Prescott. I think he's going to kind of. This is not necessarily your sitting Dak Prescott, but just more beware, right? Tyron Smith has been banged up. Lyle Collins is banged up. Mark Cooper is banged up. They're all going to be active this week, it sounds like. But I think with the Cowboys kind of skewing more towards the run recently, I think Prescott has been a little bit of a villain in fantasy.
I'm going to go with Todd Gurley, mostly because Desi Banks has him, and this will be the week that he blows up. Everybody's been disappointed with Todd Gurley so far this season. This is the week that he goes out and gets a 40 burger. I'm going to wear a sumo suit. I'm going to look like an idiot. And I know it's not a villain, but Cyborg, he's a villain because they keep trying to wedge him into the Justice League. It's like, bro, he's part of the Teen Titans. So
understandable.
There it is. But you know what? Thanks everybody for watching. This is Fantasy League One presented by Geico. See you Monday.
Look, we still had second.
There it is.